The bench sat crooked beneath the jacaranda tree, its wood brittle, its bolts rusted, forgotten, like the man who had once built it. At Redwood Elementary, time moved quickly for everyone except one man. Mr. Eli Barnes, the school's 71-year-old janitor, was a fixture as worn and silent as the broom he pushed. The children didn't notice him, except to mock. The teachers, when they acknowledged him at all, offered curt nods. And Principal Holloway? He made it a point to remind Eli every week that retirement was long overdue. But something happened one cool autumn morning that would change everything. A bench broke. A child got hurt. And Eli picked up his old toolbox, unleashing a chain of events that would bring an entire community to its knees. Eli Barnes had worked at Redwood Elementary for 27 years. He came in before the sun rose and left after it had set. The school had changed, new smart boards, security systems, even solar panels. But Eli had stayed the same, quiet, stooped, and meticulous. He wasn't always a janitor. Once, he had been an engineer, a good one, but life has a way of stripping titles, especially when tragedy knocks at your door and never leaves. His wife, Sarah, died in a car crash 15 years ago. His only daughter, Melanie, stopped speaking to him soon after. Something about grief turned inward, something about blame. Eli never argued. He simply accepted the silence like he did everything else. The staff never asked. The children never cared. To them, he was just the old man with the creaky knees and stained gloves. They called him Mr. Mop the Ghost, or worse. But Eli was never one to complain. He found solace in order, clean floors, polished doorknobs, freshly painted lines on the playground. He believed the little things mattered. It was on a Monday morning in late October when it happened. A fourth grader named Oliver tried to sit on the crooked bench under the jacaranda tree during recess. The leg snapped. He fell hard. His elbow fractured. The nurse rushed him in. Teachers panicked. And Principal Holloway, red-faced with rage, summoned Eli. "Do you know how bad this looks, Eli?" Principal Holloway spat, slamming a folder down on his desk. Eli stood quietly in the corner, cap in hand. "I've told you to replace that old bench months ago. Now a kid's hurt. The parents are furious. If the board hears of this," Holloway exhaled sharply, "you need to start packing your things." Eli opened his mouth, then closed it. "You want to fix something?" Holloway sneered. "Fix yourself. Or retire already. We need people who move with the times, not relics from the past." With that, he dismissed him. But Eli didn't leave. He went to the storage room, pulled out his old wooden toolbox, scratched, oiled, and older than most teachers at the school. Inside were worn instruments that still shone when held up to the light. He hadn't touched them in years. Not since the accident. Not since the fire. That afternoon, after the kids left and the halls quieted, Eli dragged the broken bench into the shed behind the gym. The jacaranda leaves scattered around him like purple snow. He didn't just repair the bench. He rebuilt it, sanded each slat by hand, replaced the legs with repurposed oak he'd salvaged years ago, carved initials, RB 1968, into the underside. Redwood bench, the first design he ever patented back in his engineering days, before grief, before janitorial closets. He finished past midnight, ignoring the pain in his back and the ache in his hands. And when he wheeled it back to the jacaranda tree, something inside him stirred. A spark, a memory. He sat for a moment, then stood, and went home. The next day, Eli returned to work like nothing had happened. But something had changed. A fifth-grade girl named Lila noticed it first. She was shy, quiet, and spent most of her lunch alone under the jacaranda tree. But when she saw the newly rebuilt bench, stronger, shinier, and carved with initials, she tilted her head. "Who fixed this?" she whispered to herself. Later that day, she asked her teacher, Miss Cartwright, who shrugged it off. Probably maintenance. Maybe the district. But Eli had done it alone. That evening, Lila lingered behind and peeked around the hallway corner. She watched Eli oiling another bench, this time near the cafeteria. His hands moved with such care like an artist's. She didn't speak to him. Not yet. but she saw him for the first time. The initials RB 1968 intrigued Lila. She Googled it in the computer lab. Redwood Bench Company, founded in 1968, famous for ergonomic school benches used across 4 districts. Invented by Eli Barnes. She blinked. Elijah, she whispered. It couldn't be the janitor, could it? She printed the article and tucked it into her backpack. The next morning, she left a note taped to the janitor's closet. Did you build the Redwood benches? Lila, when Eli saw it, he froze. He hadn't seen his name typed out in years. He didn't reply. But when Lila checked the next day, the bench under the jacaranda tree had new carvings. To ask a question is to honor a story. Lila told her best friend Jonah. Jonah told Max and Daria. Within a week, a quiet movement had begun among the 5th and 6th graders. They called it the Builder's List. Every day, they'd sneak notes, questions, or small thanks into Eli's supply cart. You fixed my desk. Thank you. My brother broke the swings, but you made them better. Eli said nothing, but his shoulders stood taller. He began fixing more, repainting door frames, resanding benches, straightening flagpoles. Principal Holloway didn't notice, but the kids did. One morning, Jonah left a small rolled-up paper inside Eli's locker. It was a hand-drawn blueprint of a bench, complete with bolts, beams, even initials like Eli's. At the bottom, "Can we build one with you?" Eli sat on his toolbox for a long time that evening, holding the paper. He didn't cry. Not yet, but something in him cracked open. The next morning, taped to the inside of Jonah's desk, was a reply. Saturday, 9 a.m., gym shed. Wear gloves. It was the first word Eli had written to a student in 15 years. It started with 4 kids. By the second Saturday, it was 12. By the third, there were 21 students from different grades, gathered under the banner of bench builders. They didn't care that Eli barely spoke. His hands taught them what words couldn't. He showed them how to measure twice, cut once, how to polish until the wood remembered its grain, how to build something that would outlive you. Parents began to ask questions. Teachers grew curious. But Eli stayed quiet. The kids, though, they were changing. Principal Holloway didn't like what he saw. Children lingering after hours. Parents asking why their kids wanted to visit the school on weekends. Tools missing from inventory. He called Eli in. "What exactly are you doing with the children?" he asked coldly. Eli met his eyes. "Building benches." Holloway narrowed his gaze. "You're a janitor, not a mentor, not a teacher. Stop whatever this is, or I'll have to write you up." Eli nodded once. But as he left, Holloway noticed a student's crayon drawing stuck to the janitor's cart. "Mr. Eli, our favorite builder." The principal frowned. That night, Eli pulled out a dusty box from his closet. Inside were old photos. One of Sarah, smiling in front of the school. One of Melanie, holding a tiny hammer, standing beside a bench Eli had helped her build for science fair. He held the photo and whispered, "I miss you, baby girl." It was the first time he'd said her name aloud in over a decade. Outside, the jacaranda tree danced in the wind, and the stars blinked in silent agreement. Word spread beyond the school. Parents began sharing photos of benches their kids had helped build. #benchbuilders started trending locally. Some even posted clips of Eli, quietly working, never speaking, but surrounded by eager hands. One video showed a boy crying after he tightened his first bolt correctly. He believed I could, the caption read. But not everyone was pleased. Principal Holloway called a school board meeting. "This is unauthorized. He's not certified to supervise children. He's a liability." But a few teachers objected. "He's done more for these students than any assembly we've hosted all year." The board decided to observe. Eli just kept building. One afternoon, Eli noticed something odd. Rows of broken lockers in the west hallway. They'd been like that for months. Instead of reporting them, he fixed them, one by one, silently. The next morning, a student named Mia screamed when her locker swung open. Perfectly repaired, oiled, with her name engraved in small script on the inside panel. She cried. Eli didn't take credit. But the school newspaper ran a front-page story. The man who fixes things no one else sees. Principal Holloway tore it down, but kids printed it again. And again, inside his lunch tin one day, Eli found a folded letter. His hands trembled as he opened it. Dear Dad, I saw a post today about a janitor who built benches with kids. They said his name was Eli Barnes. That can't be, is it you? I don't know why I'm writing. I guess I miss you. I've started teaching architecture at a college nearby. I see benches differently now. If it's you, please write back. Melanie. Eli's knees gave way. He sat on the floor of the supply room, shaking. It had been 16 years. He didn't reply right away. Instead, he built a new bench. Not for the school, not for the kids. For Melanie, he carved into it. For every broken thing that once held love, may you find the strength to rebuild. He left the photo in the envelope. He mailed it with shaking hands. Then he waited. Holloway struck. I'm shutting this down, he told Eli. No more benches. No more clubs. And if I see another child near your shed, you're out, retired or fired. Your choice. The next morning, a sign hung outside the shed, closed for repairs. But the kids knew what it meant. They gathered anyway. Eli was gone. The shed was locked. But on the ground, written in chalk, were dozens of messages. We miss you. You fixed more than benches. You fixed us. Lila's mother started it. She posted a heartfelt essay about Eli's kindness, how her daughter had come out of her shell because of the Saturday club. Other parents followed. By Friday, a petition had 12,000 signatures. The media arrived. News crews interviewed kids, parents, and even teachers. One line stood out. He didn't just clean the halls. He taught our kids to care. Holloway was livid, but powerless. That Monday, Eli walked through the gates of Redwood Elementary to cheers. Not from staff, from children. They lined the walkway, holding tiny wooden hammers, paper benches, signs that said, "Welcome back, builder." He said nothing, but his eyes were full. He walked straight to the jacaranda tree, and sat, and smiled. Holloway called another board meeting. This is nonsense. He's manipulating children. It's a media circus. But the board had seen enough. One member read aloud a letter written by a child named Jonah. Mr. Eli taught me that broken things aren't garbage. They're just waiting for someone to care. The board voted unanimously. Holloway was placed on administrative leave. That night, Eli waited by the bench he'd built for Melanie. She had responded to his letter with one line, "I'm coming home." When she arrived, she looked just like Sarah. She sat beside him. They didn't speak at first. Then she whispered, "I never stopped hoping you'd write." He took her hand. "I never stopped waiting." They wept, then laughed, then wept again. Melanie joined the Saturday club the next weekend. She wore gloves and work boots. Eli introduced her as my daughter, the architect. The kids clapped. Together, they began designing a bench that would become their legacy. The Barnes bench, built with students, for students, made of reclaimed wood, stories, and love. With Melanie's help, the Barnes bench was refined into a blueprint shared across classrooms. Each bench had a slot under the seat, a hidden place for letters. The children called them kindness compartments. Write to someone who helped you. Write to someone you miss. The letters flooded in. Gratitude grew. One bench made it to the district office, another to City Hall. Requests poured in from other schools. A stern man in a gray suit arrived unannounced one morning. "District compliance," he said. "I've come to inspect this janitor-turned-builder." He toured the school, asked questions, observed students. At the end of the day, he handed Eli a certificate. Facility artisan and youth mentor certified. Eli's hands trembled as he accepted it. For the first time in years, he wore a name badge that didn't say custodian. It said, Eli Barnes, student crafts leader. Principal Holloway cleared his office in silence. No one helped him, not even the secretary, who once hung on his every word. He left with 2 boxes and a folder of disciplinary warnings that never got filed. No ceremony, no send-off, As he passed the jacaranda tree, he paused at Eli's bench. A child handed him a note from the kindness compartment. It read, "Even angry men can learn to build again." Holloway blinked and walked away. Miss Cartwright became interim principal. Her first act? She created an elective called Repair and Respect, a workshop where kids learn to fix small things: desks, toys, friendships. Eli and Melanie co-taught it. Enrollment doubled in 3 weeks. On the school's anniversary, every classroom got a new bench. Each one carried a quote carved by a student. Some read, "Broken is a beginning. We rise by rebuilding. Mr. Eli taught me to see the world with kinder eyes." By lunch, even the media had arrived. Eli gave no speech, but he held his daughter's hand. And that said enough. In the rose garden behind the school, Eli built one final bench. It was simple. Oak, like always. No carvings except for one word: Sarah. Melanie helped him plant roses around it. They didn't speak as they worked. Some memories are too big for words. The kindness compartments became something bigger. Letters started being displayed on a wall of thanks near the cafeteria. One note read, "I used to be angry all the time. Then I started helping Mr. Eli build. Now I help my mom with dishes." Another said, "I used to feel invisible. Now I know even quiet people can change the world." Eli read them all. He kept the best ones in a small wooden box. Late one afternoon, a man in a tailored suit visited the school. He was from the National Education Trust. He'd seen the viral videos. He asked to meet Eli. "You've reminded this country what schools are really for," the man said. "We'd like to fund your bench project nationally." Eli blinked, then chuckled, then nodded, and shook the man's hand. A week later, the fire alarm rang during class change. Eli rushed outside, thinking it was real. But instead of smoke, he found an assembly, dozens of students, all sitting on benches. Each child held a sign. "You fixed us. You're our hero. We love you, Mr. Eli." Melanie stepped forward with the principal. "Dad," she said softly, "they built this one for you." It was a bench made from pieces of everyone he'd helped create. A living legacy. He sat, he cried, and for the first time in his life, he felt seen. By spring, the Barnes Bench program had reached 137 schools. Eli and Melanie trained retired craftsmen, volunteers, and students. Every bench carried a plaque. Build and honor the one who believed broken things deserve love. Children began creating their own designs, leading their own builds, writing their own messages. They didn't just sit on benches. They sat in purpose, in memory, in kindness. On Eli's final day at Redwood Elementary, he found a single note tucked in the jacaranda bench. It was in Lila's handwriting. "You taught me what strength looks like. I want to be like you when I grow up, not famous, just helpful." Eli sat there for hours. Breeze in his face, bird song in the trees, and peace in his chest. He had done it. He hadn't just fixed a bench. He'd fixed a generation. Never underestimate the quiet ones, the ones who fix what's broken, the ones who see without being seen. Because when they rise, they don't just build benches, they build people.